ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is Thomas and we meet again on iCollect. And in today's episode, we are featuring a collector who grew up in the 80s and 90s and he collected many toy figurines of that era, which is very much pop culture of the time. And he even collected something which you wouldn't expect to see at home. Let's go find out what they are.
Hello, my name is Wesley and I collect games and toys from the 80s and 90s.
Wow, Wesley, this is quite a lot of He-Man figurine. This is actually in the 80s, right? If I'm not wrong, the cartoon. And that's the time that you grew up in.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Is that the fascination with He-Man?
I think it is. So I grew up in the 80s and the Masters of the Universe cartoon was really popular. So, and not just the cartoon but also the toy line as well. So this toy line is by Mattel. So I think we all know Mattel a lot more from the Barbie series.
Yes.
And I think He-Man is probably their boys version of trying to reach out to the boy demographic with toys.
Yes. Okay. Do you have any favorite characters that you collect?
I do. So I think my favorite character is probably every boy's favorite character as well, growing up in the 80s. So mine would be He-Man himself.
Oh, okay.
So this is him, and his arch nemesis would be Skeletor, so the blue guy who looks a bit like a blue demon kind of thing. So they were my favorite. And I think they were really popular, the actual He-Man characters. So there's many variants of them. So like this version.
I see something over there. Okay.
Silver armor and things like that. So
and then also over there. And I also see that you have. What do you call that?
It's called Castle Grayskull. So it's a very iconic from the cartoons as well. And I think even as a toy, I think it was really well made. So this is where the sorceress stays. So this is the sorceress. And generally, Skeletor, the bad guys, are always trying to get into the castle because the castle holds some amount of power.
Okay.
Which is
I guess those who watch a lot of He-Man will probably know what you're talking about. Are you still collecting?
I am. So I grew up with He-Man toys, so I had maybe like 6 or 7 figurines. And then now, when I'm much older, I'm trying to collect them all back. So I'm still like maybe 4 or 5 figures from completing all the figurines.
I see. That would complete kind of the entire, every single character that appear in the cartoon, you will have their figurine.
Yeah, just 4 or 5 more.
Okay, just 4 or 5 more. Okay. You should get it quite soon.
I hope so.
Hey Wesley, I assume this is a very, very niche collection because I don't think I know of anybody who collect toy figurine of wrestlers. So I assume you must be a big wrestling fan.
And you're right, I was a huge fan in the 90s growing up. I love wrestling so much. I would play my friends wrestling with my dad as well. And I think collecting the figurines of your favorite wrestling heroes is something I really treasured as a child. So from this collection, I think about a quarter were from my childhood. And then now as an adult, I wanted to collect everything in the collection. And, so this is the complete collection of the wrestlers from the 90s era of wrestling.
Okay, so a lot of them are actually retired?
Most of them.
I see. So I see that you picked up a couple of very iconic star. Perhaps for those who are not familiar with wrestling, you can tell us who they are.
Sure. So probably the most iconic wrestler is Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
So he was my favorite wrestler growing up. My mom even made me a small little Hulk Hogan suit when I was a child. I would dress up in it at home. The next one is the Undertaker. He was, I think many people were afraid of him because his persona was this scary guy who is supposed to be dead and now he's back from the dead and he's wrestling. So that's the Undertaker. This one is Yokozuna.
Yes.
So back then the wrestlers, they tend to take on different personalities or occupations or stuff like that. So he was like a sumo wrestler slash wrestler kind of thing going on. And he was probably Hulk Hogan's biggest enemy at that time. And probably one of my favorite ones was Bret Hart. So Bret Hart was this cool wrestler, even though he dressed in pink, but he was still cool. And he had these pink glasses that he would give to the spectators at the wrestling matches.
Yes.
And so I think these 4 were my favorite growing up.
Okay, but in fact, you already have a complete
yes.
That's amazing. So how long did you take to collect?
I think over the last 3 to 4 years, and then I managed to complete all around 99 figures, I believe.
So there are 99 altogether?
I believe, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the force is strong in this one. Wesley, wow, may the force be with you. I gotta say that. Wow, this is probably the most iconic toy figurine and pop culture of our time.
Definitely.
Anytime, actually. wow, I see that you have a really huge collection of the toy figurines as well as the various
Spacecrafts.
Yes. Tell us more.
What I had were hand-me-down Star Wars toys from a boy that was from my mom's friend. So I had a few figurines, and then since then I've been, just like with many collectors out there, fascinated with the Star Wars universe. So I started collecting everything. So this is a complete set of the figurines, and then of course figurines need a place to fly their spaceship. So I started collecting the machines that came with it, and so I just love them because they look so alien and so unusual.
Did you take long to collect all these?
It's probably one of my more newer collections, so it's over the last 3 years or so.
And are you still continue to add the figurines, or it's all complete set?
The figurines are done, so figurines are complete, but the spaceships are not. So I have another, I think, 2 more spacecraft left, then I'm done with Star Wars.
So was there anyone that you like the most?
I think the one which I love the most is this guy over here. So he looks really cute. His name is Max Rebo. And what's cool about him is that he has like a circular keyboard kind of a thing, and he plays in a band with his friends, and he's like
I remember that, yes.
Yeah. And so he's like a kind of like an alien elephant, and I just think he looks just the cutest, and he has like a small little like diaper kind of thing going on.
Okay. Wow, imagine having this at home. Can you believe it? I just don't believe you can find a game arcade machine at home. Wow. Wesley, wow, this is amazing. Wow. How did you end up having this and that at home?
Arcades were huge in the 90s, and I spent, I think, lots of money in the arcades every weekend. So just like any other boy, we love to go to arcade and play the different machines. So this machine I have is called the Lost World Jurassic Park, and it was from the late 90s. And I remember playing this as I was a teenager in the arcades around. What happens is that you have a gun and you're shooting dinosaurs over and over again, killing dinosaurs who are trying to like eat you up. Other than this arcade machine, I also have a Crazy Taxi machine. So it's from 1999, I believe. And Crazy Taxi is not a shooting game, but it's more of a driving game where you're driving a taxi, picking up passengers, and bringing them to their destinations, but in a crazy way, where you're driving through traffic and everything. This is probably my favorite arcade machine ever, so which is why I wanted to get it back. So I know it's unusual to have an arcade machine at home, but I find it fun, and it's something to talk about when people visit you. So these are my arcade machines.
We've come to the end of today's episode. We hope you enjoyed watching it. And please give us a like if you like today's episode. And as usual, subscribe to iCollect and share our video. And if you are a collector yourself, you want us to share your collection, please get in touch with us via this email address below. And to the next episode, this is Thomas, and I'll see you again. I'm going to get back to my game.